welcome to another episode of The Lifting. Today's episode is being recorded on 7/3/25. Another Q&A. This particular episode will air post-conference. You'll see this a couple weeks or so after the conference. In St. Pete. Before we get into anything, I open the circle to true benevolence with no conflicting agendas as of this moment in time. So, Joanna?
We are all one, and when one is harmed, all are harmed. When one is helped, all are helped. Therefore, in the name of who I am, and I am one with all there is, that only the highest good be done. We pray for you, your friends, your family, your loved ones, to let healing energies in. Let them love you, let them nourish you, and let them bring you to your highest good. We ask for benevolence now to come in with no conflicting agenda, so that we may have this conversation in great understanding. And we ask for malevolent or mischievous type beings to be swept away right now, so that we may have this conversation in peace. And with that, and with great blessings that we always send your way, we say so be it.
And so be it. So, I will go into the first affirmation and blessing. The truth can be subjective to some, but seem right to others, as can story canon. Creativity shifts, as well as your perception of what is true. What comes of this is often confusion. Then comes self-realization. When this happens, you no longer have the ability to become confused. I trust all of you know what I'm saying. Live long and prosper. Channeling of actor, director, and musician Leonard Nimoy. So, he died back in 2015, I believe, COPD, I believe. So, first question.
Is the war between Mac and PC part of the 100-year disclosure narrative contract?
Yes, it is. A false, competitive, innovative computer revolution designed to do only one thing, and that is send humanity hurtling towards a collision course with the Galactic Federation. Since all large companies are with the ICC anyway, this is and/or always has been one big shill fest. Remember, shills be shillin', Isaac. I love that phrase, actually. That's more of a quotable t-shirt type of thing right there, or a coffee mug or some crap like that. So what he's basically saying as the innovation of all the technologies that have come forward, basically they are falsified to basically be part of the 100 years disclosure narrative to match a minimum basically the minimum line to get us into and communicate with the Galactic Federation. That we will go into far more detail, or have gone into far more detail, with some of the 100-year disclosure narrative, but this is essentially what this is. Remember, this is being recorded before the conference, folks. So, we will go on to the next one.
How accurate is the Alien franchise to true galactic history?
And this one's from Crumb. Let's see. Crumb here. It is very accurate to current ICC histories, as well as depicts the aquatic Draco, aka the Aquatics, he found that funny, quite well. In fact, in Prometheus, the Cabal families are indeed depicted correctly, as are some of the Anunnaki and the Orion tall white types and sizes, as well as the company practices using the workforce as a slave system. Work till you die, giveth unto Caesar. What belongs to Caesar, giveth unto God. What belongs to God, you'll have nothing and be happy premise. This is all I will say, other than it also depicts the SSP's Secret Space Program programs, as well as stasis travel quite accurately. And he's right. The xenomorphs in it are essentially aquatic Draco. Essentially, is what is being depicted in that. So, moving on to this one, and this is a small video question, and I do mean small. This is a teeny weeny one. I had to make sure that these are teeny weeny because they don't want to get too bogged down with those types of questions. So, all right. No.
CSI enhanced picture scene.
Yeah.
I'll back that up.
I like the incredibly 90s era CSI enhanced picture.
Oh, yeah. It would help if I screen shared, folks, right? Okay. All right. I don't know why I thought everybody was going to magically see that. So, all right. Now, that out of the way here. And, okay, I have a hard time seeing how to do this because this thing is in the way down here. Okay. All right, I'm just going to have to.
I mean, you can tell AI to do that and it'll just invent it for you.
Both of those are Tony Scott movies.
I like the incredibly 90s era CSI enhanced picture scene.
Yeah, dude.
Okay, here's a crazy part I've realized.
Rotate 100 degrees.
Okay, that part is ridiculous. The part where they can rotate a picture. So that part still doesn't make a ton of sense.
I mean, they did it in Deja Vu, dude.
They did it in Enemy of the State, where
Yeah.
Jack Black is like, now turn it 90 degrees. And then they
Yeah.
turn.
That's a good movie, dude.
I mean, you can tell AI to do that and it'll just invent it for you.
Both of those are Tony Scott movies, by the way.
Tony Scott loves rotating pictures.
Yeah.
But the crazy part is the enhance process. Now that we know we have AI upscaling, it has retroactively become realistic.
Yeah.
A little bit.
The fact that they had to wait for it to upscale, the fact that they were like, oh, we'll see what it comes up with, like, that was actually oddly realistic.
Yeah.
I liked it.
Okay. That had to be a really short one, folks. So this is actually, and they were correct. That was back in 1993 when that came out. That was depicting AI upscaling and also facial recognition, and some of those other movies were from back in the 90s as well. Star Trek especially has been known for showing again, part of the 100 Years Disclosure narrative where they're basically showing the path these things, the technology is taking, just like what was in the set above, with basically the narrative or the directed path the technology was taking. Even in Star Trek Voyager, they show somebody from the future crashing on Earth in the 70s, and by the time the 90s come around, you have this level of technology. So basically saying in the 90s, in 96 to be exact, even though this was 93. So Roddenberry was showing it in both Voyager, or his people were, and Roddenberry himself was showing it in Star Trek Next Generation with the pads that you see that look like iPads and tablets and Androids and such. And also the types of communicators. Of course, you have the flip phone ones, and you had with the early Star Trek, and you had the push ones on the chest, the badges. So yeah, this I find very interesting. But yeah, though the commentators were correct, that was basically showing AI upscaling what we would be using now, and this is exactly what the AI generative algorithms are doing, where you can rotate something what it would be. And basically Cisco and them in that scene were being shown, okay, show what it would be, kind of thing. I find that interesting, and that's a form of disclosure from back then. Looking back, kind of retroactively looking back, you're seeing how it got to now. So, and I will go into the channel by Range 4 Harry. This video shows that all technical advancements are part of the 100-year disclosure narrative contract. Roddenberry knew this. This is why Star Trek, the original series, Star Trek Next Generation, and that Star Trek Next Generation contained this very disclosure, and that was Deep Space Nine that you also saw on there, and this was from Range 4 Harry. And so I thought that was actually quite interesting. And so we will move on. Okay. Right, the question.
It's a picture with somebody in it in a headline. It says, "What is this man's true mission?"
All right, I'm going to have to briefly show you this screenshot. And I had to make a screenshot. This was a video, but it was too damn long, so I just made a screenshot. See this break-in reported at home of assassinated Minnesota lawmaker Melissa Portman days after double murder. And yeah, the cops basically allowed this guy into this home where he killed this Melissa Hortman. And I wanted to know why he was wearing a Walter White mask. This was actually, again, somebody sent this in, but I formulated the question based upon several points here. So I'll stop sharing that for a minute. Okay. All right. Okay, here we go. This was from Range 4 Harry again. Range 4 Harry has been very helpful with these. I might add, he's very knowledgeable on history. He was activated to carry out this op and murder multiple people. He was abducted and put back at home, activated with a sound pulse. This pulse activated programming that was very similar, if not the same, as your General Order 66 from your Star Wars prequel movies. Who did it, and was this for political gain? This is much more complicated than that. Anti-changer, distractor, chaos agent, agent of chaos, take your pick, range 4 Harry, and he put a PS in there. As for who broke into the house, this was an attempt to throw off investigators and distract them from putting the true pieces together. Good enough? Range 4 Harry. Somebody broke back into that house after the police tape was already on there. And that was essentially to throw off the investigators. The Walter White mask was basically because he broke bad. Essentially, oh, yeah, okay, here we go. This is part of he put another PS in here. The mask itself was a symbol of Breaking Bad, meaning he was a first-time criminal and or usage of this asset slash hitman. Get it? Just like with Breaking Bad with Walter White. He was a peaceful person before that. He broke bad, meaning he became went from a good person to a criminal. This was basically meaning an activation, first-time activation for this particular person that was in the Walter White mask. So these programming is actually easier for them to do than to replace and or completely do other things. Have an alien in there, whatever. It's far easier just to do a General Order 66 on somebody. Next one. This one's about Whitney Houston's daughter right here. Here's that.
Okay. It says this is strange. Whitney and her daughter involved in rituals, spirit guides who are evil and guiding her to sacrifice herself.
Yes, I'm not going to show the video. This will pinpoint basically where this would sound like we were saying somebody was wrong. So I'm not going to show the video or any screenshot from it because we're not going to do that. Just know that within the video is basically pinpointing her daughter. Well, she and her daughter were involved in rituals and such. This is what this other channeler was saying. So, and this was when Whitney Houston interjected here. No, this is incorrect. I was murdered and sacrificed. And she was pretty angry about that video. Apparently somebody was listening to the mouth, not her. Did I serve another god? No, I was around another being that was demonic for a short time. Whitney Houston. What this other channeler did is basically accuse Whitney of saying, oh, she says she was around her god, meaning whomever one of these incoherent Anunnaki gods were. Didn't really pinpoint which one she was referring to, but the real Whitney was basically saying incorrect all across the board. Not cool what happened. Not cool what was being said is what she basically said. I don't want to start a fight with other channelers. Just know you have to discern a little better with stuff like this. So I'm just going to go on to the next one before I rant anymore. Okay, next.
This is another video.
Yeah.
Okay, but it says the king is 6 foot tall and Donald Trump is 6'3". Is he a body double who is much shorter?
Okay, I'm just going to do a screenshot of this particular one. You have to see the image here to be able to get what is actually being said here. So, actually, I'm going to remove that one. Okay. And basically, Trump. Okay. Yeah. Don't go by the title. He was basically saying he was shorter than the king of the Netherlands, and he's supposed to be taller than the king of the Netherlands. And what was actually being iterated was that there was a body double in there because of the fact to see she's shorter, but he's supposed to be, I believe, 6'4", 6'4", 6'3". He's the height of my father, 6'3", and the king is 6'1". The son, he's my height, and so he's supposed to be significantly shorter.
Because he's shrunk.
Yeah, he shrunk there.
Well, I mean, elderly people start to shrink.
Yeah, that happens too. I will say that does happen too. So what? Actually, I will get back into. Hang on. Get back into the proper document here, and Okay. Basically, the question was, is he a body double or is he much shorter? Is he a body double? Who is he much shorter? Okay, let's see. And range 4 Harry again. No body double here. Good old perspective difference. However, Trump does have plenty of doubles, is what he's saying. The other one that was in another video here that basically I'm not going to bother showing this one. It's basically said Trump still looks shorter, and then Isaac interjected on this one. Isaac here, the shorter ones usually are body doubles, but there is always one waiting in the wings on most trips to anywhere. Though Harry was right on one account, there you are right on this one. So basically, he was giving him a thumbs up on that one, or a wink on that one. But yes, as you age, you start to shrink too. So that's part of it. He's in his 80s, I believe. So or
Right.
close to it. So all right, man, is that hard to see?
Yeah, I can't read it.
Okay, let me read this one. This one's a little hard to see. Okay. Somebody was asking me here. Hey Chris, can you pick up on any info or if Isaac is around, what his take on why the sky got dark in SoCal around 2:30 today? I checked to see if there was another fire, but all that came up was that the dark sky was due to the fires in Northern California, or NoCal. Apparently, there was enough people inquiring about it that they actually had a news story, but it is weird, like the sky went from sunny and blue to dark and yellow tingy instantly. Coverage for spacecraft, distraction, or something else, maybe my mind's just on overdrive. So this is an older question. This was not this year. This was from back, and I believe yeah, it was like in the late 2021, I believe this one was. So just so you don't confuse it with the fires, I happen to find this deep in my questions here. So okay, here we go. Isaac here to tell you that the sky is darkened to indeed hide UFO activity, but there were also a series of weather control events as well as a defense grid being put in place and tested. A new design in HARP technologies mixed with that of CERN manipulation of the Schumann resonance frequencies. You will find out eventually that some of the Kali Yuga, he basically was making a pun on Kali and Kali Yuga, like the Earth changes energies, a pun, sorry, purported to be for highest good of the people, are anything but that of CERN and HARP, along with Saturn and the Moon, sorry, New Agers again. This coincides with what I republished in one of the Q&As. I attached the episode attached to one of the episodes of the darker side of the harmonic convergence. I did attach that to one of the previous Q&As. I'm sorry, I don't remember which one because we've done so many of them, but just know that I already said that part of it in there about how the energy is changing from the 80s to the 90s to now. That was roughly around 2021, 2-ish in there. I cannot remember exactly the year that we did that talk with me and Joanna. That I am moving on. Just go back to that, and I'm not reinventing the wheel. All of it's explained there. We'll go here. Okay. I'm going to have to read this one. This was a comment that came from our Patreon. I dug this one up back when we were doing Patreon. This was a comment that was on a GIC after show that does not exist anymore, and I won't say the title of it, but it was about communications crews at the time, and a person said here, I appreciate the access afforded by channeling, but could we not hear the channel's actual voice, recorded phone call perhaps? And I said, I would love this myself, but channeling is a known treaty loophole all galactics can use. Also, on occasion, they do call or run into us in public spaces. You've heard us talk about that. We have heard from them unknowingly to us several times, both in person and on the phone, but did not know it not always until later. Isaac has been one of the only exceptions. I wrote another thing on here, an answer to this. Also, another loophole is through the ghost box or spirit box, whereas they can pose as ghosts or other beings, positive or negative, to get a message out as well. Choppy, but it works. Also, you know of the branch bracket treaties and the angels unaware rule from previous episodes.
And just to restate it, they can't. Bottom line is,
No.
they're not gonna be able, one of the questions that people keep wondering, hey, you're gonna come to the conference, you're gonna show yourself there, you're gonna do all of these things left, right, and different. The answer is no, they're not allowed.
No.
And so.
Unless it's under a bracket branch treaty and it's very limited.
Well,
that
and
way.
even if they're under a if they're under that type of treaty, what will happen is that if you wanna see them for who they are, guess who's gonna be read into the treaty? You are,
Yeah.
which means they can talk to you, you can know it's them, but you can't tell anybody else. So it doesn't work like people think, and understanding the contractual obligations will help people understand why certain things are not happening. Now, again, it's part of our collective consciousness to know about these so we can disagree and so we can basically see a world differently and kind of demand things like the minimals, more than just the minimals being met in the betterment of humanity. But you got to know what it really is right now in order to do that. And that's what we're trying to help explain.
All right, here's the next one.
What do you mean by overage?
Yes, and if some of these were repeated on the older Q&As, I do apologize. So, overage is what is outside of the lesson, the repetition of struggle and negativity when the lesson has already been learned. The constant targeting, despite the fact the targeting has been recognized. Though one could say that the lesson has not been learned if the struggles continue, I personally beg to differ. How many times must one learn about pain and suffering? If I cause it in a past life or past expression, once knowing about it, it is supposed to course correct it. Now, also, sometimes you get blowback by things you do and work you do in dreams and you don't know it. I've had some client friends have this happen too. And also, some of these lineage curses. Sometimes it's an agreement an ancestor made, and you're going through this as well. There's no context for it. You wouldn't know what happened 1,000 years ago. But you have to eventually find a way to find whatever trait and or ancestor. Look up the history, find out what they were involved in, and you'll eventually come across this. Now, one could argue it's none of it's overage and it's all happening, so you discovered it and uncovered it. One could argue this, most certainly. But when it keeps happening, that, under my definition, falls into overage.
And overage is used a lot now. Again, like we're saying there, and again, if you've hopefully by now have listened to our talk about the 100-year disclosure narrative contract. So the bottom line is there is in that contract, there is an agreement, a rate at which information can be let out. There is the yield, right? That is all about the rate at which information can be let out. So if you were trying to push things too quickly, part of the contract says all these people have to keep you from doing it. This is another area where overage can come in because they will do everything to keep you circling the toilet, having problems or whatever, rather than allow you to expand to maybe go quicker than the contractual agreement will allow.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not agreeing with it. I completely abhor it. I'm just letting you know this is a true statement, what I just said.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of effort to keep people from exponentially growing past, what they want them to be at. And that is a huge place where overage comes in. So I'd love to say that the more you become truly enlightened and you truly understand and you truly try to spread the word that your life gets easier. Right now, it doesn't. It gets harder because this is a part of the contractual agreement, which is heavily enforced.
It's incredibly heavily enforced, and you'll get sometimes blowback for crap you didn't even know you did.
Well, you don't know you're doing it.
You don't know you're doing it.
You don't know. You just think, you're doing something innocent, having conversation, noticing things, doing everything. And, and again, here comes a series of unfortunate events or something like that. You don't have necessarily anything to learn from it. That is new age talk. That is not true.
Mm-hmm.
It's truly overage for many people.
Yeah, they call it the New Age scam for a reason. It was made by the three-letter agencies. Now you know the shill's involved in part of it as well. So we'll move on to the next one.
Is the warring of the demons and the recruiting of young people, children, the same as the hedge bets of the gods?
Yes, it is. They will come to people
Yes.
when.
Oh, okay, I was misspelling, excuse me. Just
Yeah,
start.
yes, it is. They will come to people when they are children, no different than in all of your SSP stories, and recruit them towards their causes. Good guys will help out in this way, but still have an agenda that also aids their person. More on this later. What he's saying means by their person is this. You have good guys that coincide with. You always hear us talk about basically true benevolence with no conflicting agendas. Then there's conflicting agendas. Conflicting agenda would be, of course, opposite of how you want to run your life. But with this, their person signifies. The hedge better will select a person, a shill on their behalf, to run their agenda here within this frequency on Midgard, from some dimensional space. And from even some other time, I've noticed, and other invading timelines. You always hear me say, basically disintegrating or invading timelines or collapsing invading timelines. That's what do you think where that comes from? Little branch timelines warring with each other. With this, in some cases, that's a whole temporal war premise. But then you have the hedge betting of the gods that involves ETs as well. They'll select a person to run a narrative down here and run it to its course. I've seen ETs run a channeler so far they want to see how far they can take the person before they break, or they want to run some BS playette or narrative going on. And this some of it falls under branch bracket treaties, but this is just plain abuse on that part. Now, I ran into that when I was younger, but they wanted to carry me, the blonde-haired idiot, the witch, and the brat wanted to carry me onto a particular stage and particular type of channel that I had nothing to do with. So a lot of new agey type stuff. Now, can other good groups hedge bet? Absolutely, they can, but that's a non-conflicting agenda right there. That's where you're helped out because it coincides with what you need to accomplish. It's mutually beneficial as well. So I wanted to actually add that in. Oh, and also baptisms, guys. If you had a baptism in your past, basically revoke that and the demon assigned you at the time from the church. You will thank us later and yourself. So next question.
What percentage of the human race has been altered in such a way that, say, emotions differ from even a few years ago, or even appearance and physical features?
Yes, this is something that we notice. This is more spirit inspired, where I formulated a question based on multitudes of information coming in and things we noticed as synchronicities as well. That's it here. It has varied quite a bit, but in the past few years, I would have to say 30 to 35% of the human race has been altered emotionally without their consent, mind you. As for appearance / physical features, very little, believe it or not. Well, maybe some have gotten a little hotter as the immune system fights off that bad fat virus. That's it. So what she means is that not only because of COVID, people's minds have altered. It's also from like Draco gassing before it, from other viruses and diseases for it, from other vaccinations for it, all these things. Also genetic tinkering, like what the Ebens did with the whole 144,000 scam they had going on, whereas they kept putting their DNA little bits at a time, weaving it in since the Native Americans gave the prophecy on the rainbow children. You see where that's going. If you want to go see more on that, go to gic.show. We have a whole thing on the 144,000 and the Eben agenda, but that ties into the rest of the other stuff that we've talked about. That's the other component to that. But these are little changes from your own personality with like the COVID vax, along with the shedding, all of this. You may even be getting further and further away from where you originally started as a person and not even know it. It's been done in millimeters and centimeters. What she was trying to say is 30 to 35% have been emotionally altered in the past few years. Yeah, I would have to say that's accurate because of all the crap that has been going on. You can't tell me that within the past 5 years, that you are the same exact person that you started pre-COVID? No, I doubt anyone could actually answer no to that one. So within that short amount of time, uh, people's personalities and people's philosophies, ethics, and morals have changed in that time. So that's all I got. Did you have anything to add to that one?
No.
Okay. And last one.
What is a chupacabra?
Okay. Okay, this was Isaac. An annoying space vermin, and not that coyote thing that they towed around as a chupacabra. The real ones came in aboard spaceships far and wide, like rats did on cargo and pirate ships. The coyote thing is part experiment, part distraction, renaming it chupacabra when it is clearly is not the same thing. This is to distract people from the more alien side of things. Get it? This goes in line also with your Plum Island crap that went on with all the genetic experiments on animals and people and all this other stuff. Whereas also that weird, creepy thing that washed ashore that was half cat, dog, rodent, whatever the hell that thing was. That is some experimenting crap going on. You have your whole Resident Evil crap going on in the bases. To look at that movie, you will know exactly what I'm talking about with the T virus that was in that. With the mansion that was connected to the DEMS base, that whole bit. The fake couple is the Watchman, whole bit. This they showed some experimental animals there, but now are there dimensional animals that come from other spaces in the Introverse to Midgard? Absolutely. Just like other stones do, like amethyst and shungite, coming into this dimension to combat the black goo. Go to gic.show to look that one up. But I'm not reinventing the wheel. But the whole point is some things are dimensional, some things are this crap where they just invented to distract. And some animals will hybrid with other ones, like you had a grizzly bear mate with a polar bear, and you had some weird, creepy looking hybrid. Now, if a species is going extinct, they will, like polar bears, they will merge with another species to create a completely different one. Let them do it. This is nature at work here. This is also in space. Some aliens expedited this too in ancient times or antiquity, where I saw a vision of a planet exploding, whereas the remnants of that people came here and they got integrated into our genome, one of the many races that added to the human genome post great seeding. And I was told that there was very few of that species left, and a little bit of their genome got added. That there was a guy by the name of David that came through and described at the time of Göbekli Tepe that happened. I'm hoping he comes back in as benevolent and comes back in and talks about some of that at some point, because it was actually kind of fascinating. Some of his story. He was of a species a lot of people probably wouldn't recognize, but looked kind of like a Klingon, but with different crow's foot head ridge and all that. But anyway. I'm getting too far off track. The chupacabra were space vermin, essentially, that were on board spaceships left and right, like how in Deep Space Nine they had Cardassian voles running around on the inside of the space station. Think of them as like a vole or a mole, but standing upright, and they look like the gremlins on the Gremlin movies. Not Gizmo, the like Striker, that, or Striper. That. And they are some of the most annoying little turds that you'll ever see. Somebody got a picture of one time jumping over a fence. They will bite on like on a goat or a dog or everything and suck their blood out just like a vampire. They're essentially a vampire. They're essentially like mosquitoes bite you. They're essentially vampire flies too. This is no different, just in small little lizard reptilian form, about that big. So the coyote dog wolf thing that's supposed to be half coyote, half Mexican red wolf. That's an experiment distractor right there, distraction. So we are now at the point in the show where now they want me to emphasize we're at the galactic interversal spirit world elemental contribution, and that's how far out that line's gone. Now, as far as I know, there isn't another archetype or other phylum or genus in there. So, all right. There are a couple choices here tonight as we record this, that there were actually 1, 2, 3, 4. And the fourth person is not being channeled, and I will explain here in a second. One of them is Elvis Presley. You know the channeling of that one when he came through for our Vegas recording, what we added to the Vegas recordings. I believe it was Viva Las Vegas. Another one was the one that left the affirmation and blessings. That's Leonard Nimoy and actor comedian Chris Farley. He's actually very, very kind, and he's actually highly evolved in the way he talks and everything. He doesn't sound like you would expect the bumbling character at all. So that shows how much of him that he did not put in the role and how much he did put in the role. He did, any of those that he did. Elvis, I'll just go for birth. Born January 8th, 1935, Toluca, Michigan. No, not Michigan. Minnesota, I believe it was. Died August 16th, 77, age 42, Graceland. Leonard Nimoy, born March 26th, 1931, West End, Boston, Massachusetts. Died February 27th, 2015, age 83, Bel Air, Los Angeles. And Chris Farley, born February 15th, 1964, Madison, Wisconsin. Died December 18th, 1997. He was 33. That he was at 87 North Michigan, 875 North Michigan Avenue, Chicago, Illinois, where he died. I didn't remember him. I seem to remember him when he passed away then. Which one are we going with first? I believe Elvis was the one that was pushing to the front of the line. And so when you first heard us talk about him, he had a lot of ghosts following him around. They were actually holding him in Graceland because they were his worshipers. He was being treated almost like a god, like in or a demigod, like in Fallout New Vegas, where the kings worship him, sort of. And it was an impersonation school that was in 200 years from now. But they didn't even know his name; they just knew him as the king. They said, if this isn't worship, I don't know what is. That was the head leader. Now, I find that interesting. Now he's spirit. He's like almost guide. He's like guide level, like Michael Jackson. Leonard Nimoy, same thing. I remember helping him cross over back in the day. There was a lot of trickery around him, like what happened with Joan Rivers, but now he's here to clear up a few things. Chris Farley, him and I never met, and one that was being a real pain in the ass tonight was musician Jim Morrison of The Doors. He was a bully when he tried coming through. And you've heard us talk about the 100 Years Disclosure narrative with him and his father basically doing pro-war, anti-war for the Vietnam War, starting in the Bay of Tonkin and planning this in Laurel Canyon. Creepy Scenes Inside the Canyon, I believe the book is called. This was a major part of that planning of those narratives out. And he was, when we were on the boardwalk earlier, he was pushing onto me like you would not believe. And this was just wrong.
So the book is actually called Weird Scenes.
Weird Scenes in the Canyon. I keep wanting to call it creepy.
I know. I mentioned it really quickly at the disclosure conference. So it's a book that actually, so again, at the disclosure conference, we tried to say this was the contractual agreements that was made in the late 1950s. So they had to get themselves together and come up with a plan in order how they were going to control pretty much everything now, and then get to the point of, disclosure after 100 years, the type of disclosure that they want to occur, and how were they going to control every single thing. So what again was said at the conference is that you have to control all of the narrative. So then you have to make up your own for and against, meaning your own pro-war, pro-anti-war, whatever the subject is. You got to have a pro and you got to have an against, and you're going to control all sides of it. So an interesting book came out that actually discussed what was happening in the 1960s when all of this anti-war and these different singers and different people, and including conversation about Manson and different things like that. It's a very interesting book because it really in its own way corroborates what we're trying to get out about how the for and against was made up, and potentially even by the same families, meaning it was Jim Morrison's father was in the military, very active. He became kind of the anti-war side of it, but they actually loved and cared each other for very much, and it really was a ploy. And so the book is really good. I think, again, the 60s was that heavy time frame where a lot of how are we going to control everything? How are we going to put people in their places? How are we going to, create stars for people to follow? All of this stuff was going on. And again, you are not necessarily talking benevolence that is trying to control, more of a very nasty, negative, you know, more satanic and ugly side that was actually, involved in a lot of this. And so that book is a really good book trying to give people something to think about how some of this all occurred and the strategy behind some of this stuff. And so that's why I mentioned the book there. It's an interesting read. You may find it really interesting. Hopefully it'll still be out there now that we're talking about it. But it
Accurate,
really talks about the process of trying to control all sides in a narrative.
The outsides in the narrative, yeah. It's kind of the whole Bene Gesserit priesthood within the Dune series, the Dune prophecy, and also the Dune movies. You see a very similar dynamic going on with that, but from an Orion type perspective. What they basically taught these people, they began to self-farm after a while. I'm not going to show a video, but I will show a comment that I had Elvis come through. This was actually last night. Our friend Christine, she does not care if I show the name here. I will say, she said, show this to Elvis. Spent the night in a dead mall days before he passed away. I'm not going to play it, but
Well, good day, my friends. Today we are.
okay, stop. Okay. This let's see, South Brook Mall here, and let's see, get here to the innards of this, and I just wanted to show what this looked like right here. This big mall. This is where Elvis went and saw basically one of the James Bond movies. I believe it was The Spy Who Loved Me. I believe it was. Went here before a couple days before he died, actually. But what was weird about this was when she sent this video to me, I thought this was actually quite interesting. You can go back to this guy's channel here, this Days Jordan with the line. Okay, I will close that real fast. He basically, this was his comment. I remember this. I have fond memories of this place. Loved Bond, the town, Memphis. Thank you for the look back, Christopher. Much appreciated. To all reading and seeing this channel message, this is Elvis Presley. Thank you all for this. Love to you all. Channeling of the King Elvis Presley. I put that under the video, so we'll see what happens. But what was actually fascinating about that was the fact that I was looking at this and there was like sadness surrounding this. And I'm going, why? Why? What's the nostalgia of the places like that closing and the time changing over to something different? And it wasn't just me, it was him that because he was in the process of leaving at the time. He was in the process of basically leaving, and his imprint is on that building. That imprint, what he was thinking and feeling while he was there, because he was so close to leaving. It was like 2-3 days later he died. So therefore that imprint was there. And he was saying that I was living an imprint, also living things from childhood, seeing those places packed, and now they're all like dead. And so he was relating to that. And he sent me that to show me something like that as well, like a happier time or a happier thing. One of the last things he did was actually joyful before he went the way he went, is what he was trying to say with that synchronicity. So, Elvis, I didn't mean to drag that out, but I had to show that, and I know there are 2 more of you. So, I will do this. And just so you know, when him and Michael Jackson ran into each other in a session one time, Elvis basically Michael Jackson tried to say he was the king, and then Elvis went, "I beg to differ." So just so that was going back and forth. King of Pop, King of Rock. So different era, different vintage. All right. So okay, benevolent Elvis Presley only, please. Ooh. Hmm. Yeah, anybody out there trying to channel Jim Morrison, please do not until he's at some higher level somewhere. Don't bother. So uh ooh, all right. There we are. Mhm. Yes, I've been here before. I thank you for letting me speak. And that trip through memory lane there was quite pleasant. It can only be done in a particular way through a human medium, even though he calls me on guide level, and I thank him for the compliment. uh, there still needs to be a, how can I put this? A go-between. You use edifices for particular beings, statues, things of that nature, metals, things of that nature. People do that with religious stuff. But sometimes another human's eyes and emotions that are attached to a particular thing have to be able to spark a particular connection. Michael Jackson also had this happen as well when he came in. But those happy memories there of all the people that gathered there, they're turning that into a museum, I believe. They show movies in that theater. I was literally believe not one of the last showings there, but it was the last movie I ever saw. The Spy Who Loved Me, I believe. From Russia with Love. Excuse me. It was I've seen both. But with this, it was a nice walk down memory lane. They don't make them like they used to, that sort of thing. What I do want to sidestep or step into the topic that I wanted to bring to the surface is about vice. And this is like what you hear. You hear a lot about sin, but what they don't tell you, yes, is gluttony a supposed sin? Yes. What they do not tell you is they will manipulate you to get to your vices, such as food, such as sex, such as drugs. With mine, it was all three. Food was my undoing at the end. And also drugs, where they literally injected me with the overdose, and you know how they caught me. They did that to humiliate me, as I said previously, because I was going against the grain. And you notice how my daughter and granddaughter got into that whole thing that Michael Jackson was talking about in other episodes. And I did not want that to befalleth unto the children. So I resisted as much as possible. The familial curse did its thing. You saw with Brandon and Bruce Lee how it ended, the way it did. I was attempting to explain to him about looking into all of these things. He was looking into stuff from his own SSP history, things, synchronicities that spirit were wanting him to align. This is where some blowback was taking place with his computer issues and whatnot. Some power surges you had going on here. I would not recommend. But with this, they will take it just like you've seen your Pope's Exorcist, where they say they take your sin. In this instance, they will take whatever you try to align with. Alcoholics have their alcohol, druggies have their drugs, etc. Even though it's a demonic source that gets them hooked, there's still something in their brain that can hook to it, you see. That's why they call them a disease, either mental or physical. Sometimes you have a genetic propensity for it that is a curse, that is coming through a lineage curse. This is why you have to fight it with willpower, tenacity, and passion, and creativity, and all of that. And love, well, they say love and light, but it's more sovereignty sort of thing. You are claiming your space. But with this, I would highly recommend to anyone that is hearing the sound of my voice, have no weaknesses. Have no weaknesses that they can exploit. Even if you do not know you have something, I would highly recommend you look. Don't just co-create, because I've said this. And you take a look within yourself. When you saw me towards the end, when I took a trip to that mall, I was in rough shape. Things that I did not tell people, things with food. I think you could tell by that time. Your Saturday Night Live likes to call me the older, fatter Elvis, but yeah, I'll own that one. I kind of have to own that one. But yes, so the things I knew, things I found out, things that I saw, I hmm, that was very rough on me at the end. They got me hooked on things that made it so that my bowels did not function correctly, had a bit of Crohn's going on, I believe, things of that nature. And your Eisenhower even had that as well. When those are some of them that are on the righteous path, you tend to see some of these failings in the body. Those that will not bend a knee or yield in any way. You start to see these things after a while. And I must say, and I was explaining to Christopher this morning, ironically, when he was on the toilet, and he said, "Sorry, I am now mimicking you," and I thought that was hilarious. He's unlike others out there, I have a sense of humor and a sense of irony. And I basically told him that don't go down my path because I did not look into any health concerns whatsoever. None. I was more concerned with music and with the path that I was on. And yes, passion is a wonderful thing. But also, you have to keep your vices in check. You have to keep these things in check. Whatever you're putting in you, on you, around you, or you're putting something in others through sexual means, I would keep that in check. And I'm not saying him in particular, I'm making a generalization as well. He gave me permission to say the thing about the toilet, which he thought was quite ironic. Which it's more synchronistic, but ironic. I'm not without my sense of humor. When you're in this form and can look back on how they got you, you tend to try to find things to laugh about, and that's mine. Of course, Michael Jackson, he went through his traumas the way he did. I was no different. He got a little bit of the rougher end of the shtick there, but with mine, what I wish to say, it is the vices. Leonard can talk about his with his smoking, and Chris can talk about his with some of his drug use, of which not all of his was voluntary. But so there were three of us that wanted to point this out. Do you have questions for me?
So, I guess what I would say as far as this goes to all three of you, there must be, a true reason why the three of you have come in to talk about this right now. I can say, just from my perspective, looking in on things that we would like to see accomplished, like, a unity to grow within the non-disclosure community, a genuine one that is not infiltrated. I'm gonna guess that you're coming in because of that.
Yes.
And so, I just opened that door for you to talk about anything that you have watched, seen, want to advise on, because, it is obvious to me that it's definitely there.
Do not let vice infiltrate how you bring out your information. And I'm not saying say if you had something sexual or something other. No, I'm not saying that in a balanced way. Do not let that overtake you to overtake the voice that you are attempting to give. Don't let someone hijack your voice. Ironically said, because I'm using
Because
it.
you're doing it.
But ironically said, but you saw this years ago when you saw someone else around him wanting to give a message that would not have been on par in front of an audience. You guys were not ready for that at this point. You are not at that point, but you are now. I will say. Now, I will leave some of the rest to Chris here in a moment, but Leonard will have to be the last one. No insult intended to him. Great man. But when you are in a situation like where you are a public figure, or if you're doing something for others, you are, they always say service to self, service to others, but it is actually, you're always giving back. You're always needing to give back to yourself. Always remember to do this, but don't go so much that you think that your words are mightier than that of others. Yes, you can have the confidence to say that you are doing well and good in this world, but do not think for a moment that your good works are not unnoticed, but that your potential for vice is also not going unnoticed. And with the no that even though religious indignation aside, there is a truth that certain that vices will get exploited. And so therefore you have help buffering these things. And I'm saying sometimes with food, myself included in that, drug use, all of this, from heroin to cocaine to all of that, smoking, the whole bit. Uh, this is where I'm at with this. Chris is wanting to speak. Now give me one moment, please. I thank you for that. I now will tell you that poor Leonard is sandwiched between two fat guys. And when I say fat, yes, we are.
You don't mean PHAT.
No, not at all. No, I liked my food a lot. No, 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 no. During times of Black Sheep and all of those. No, no, no. When David and I did our thing, and also Saturday Night Live. Trust me, food was the thing. Let's just put it that way. Mainly cake, but yes, I had a sugar thing going on, and cake was not necessarily the thing, and also to do. And then I went into major drug vice when someone tempted me with that, and that was a wrong path. It was heroin, wrong, 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 wrong. My error. But, and methamphetamines and a few of those things. But Leonard has the simplest one of all of them. His was nicotine. But me and Elvis, it was two fat guys cramming a really skinny old person between us. Not fair to him. Basically saying we've conquered the space here with girth, but at least we weren't living in a van down by the river.
That's right.
But I will say, I'm very happy people find that funny, by the way, especially David.
That's probably one of your best things that people remember fondly.
If David hears this, he's been hearing me in his head for months, and he did not realize it was me. He felt like he was having a conversation with David Spade, very much like Carl Weathers did for Sylvester Stallone. It was very similar. I was actually giving him the message, and this is what I say to you now, my friend. If you see this, know that I'm around you often. So. When you sang "Still Miss You, Brother" and the commercials, I hear you every single time. So this is what I was trying to get through to him, but I was not strong enough to do so at the time. This was years ago, mind you. But this was a question on his part from quite a while ago, actually, unbeknownst to you guys. This was an answer to that question. But just know that these vices, you may not know them as such. You may see them as part of routine and a part of balancing. You're balancing a situation by which you need to live your day to day. Wrong answer. Balance does not require the extra little quirks like that, except in areas where you require balance to be restored. And I'm not saying through vice. And yes, we have our own little vices as long as they don't overtake us. It's fine. Fine. Mine overtook me, obviously. I was only 33. Elvis was 42. Leonard made it to 83, the lucky frickin' bastard. Sorry to say how you went there, my friend, but yeah, at least you lived long and prospered. I will say that. But with this, that's part of it. There's an addictive quality of this. They will exploit these things. The ones that die young and burn fast and live hard, like me and Elvis did, we did not realize while in human form, that these things not only harmed us, they harmed the ether around us too. They harmed those that cared about us. They had to watch these things, and they mirrored this back, and we mirrored it to them, they mirrored it to us. This is not something, a legacy that I wish to bestow on anyone. And ironically, I was not living in a van down by the river. I was living in an apartment. But with that said, yes, they found me that way, having OD'd. This is not how I wish to go, and I don't believe Elvis wished to go the way he did either. But I do want to say that I did see things. I did see things and hear things that did lead to my vices being exploited and given to me to begin with. They exploit what sometimes you don't even know about yourself. That's why you need to know yourself. They take that and they make it worse. I saw things, heard things, like what Elvis did, like what James Dean did, all the rest of them, about all of these things. And this led me down that road, but the rest I owned. But I wouldn't recommend owning all of it. Just know that at some point it becomes your choice to remain in that, though it was controlled. There is a half and half to this. Do not fall on the other end of the line on that equation. So, do you have questions for me?
So, I think, again, I just am looking for acknowledgement that in the attempts to form this unity that we are trying, that do you agree that, my God, full bore, it's already been infiltrated to stop? I mean, I cannot believe what has occurred in a very short period of time. I mean, and it really has been a short period of time.
Oh yeah, most definitely, it's been a short period of time.
You know, so I only look for kind of acknowledgement, because I have to tell you that, you know, being able to see it occur, I've been trying to give thought on, wow, what can we bring to the space, to the energies, to try and enlighten people, obviously this conversation, but to enlighten people that this infiltration has occurred and you need to really be aware of what is around you. And I don't really know, I think Chris and I both are at a loss. I respect the fact that I get what you're saying, as far as it is also, the pressure is also focusing on us as well. I get that completely. I appreciate, the candor and what you're saying to hopefully let us self-reflect, not taking us off the table, because I get it and I have felt it. But but I'm curious about those other ones that are around us within this community. I really am. I kind of am at a loss, besides trying to bring in conversation what I'm doing right now, the acknowledgement that obviously you're seeing this after the conference. This is a week before the conference, and what has been transpiring for weeks before that, it's like this floodgate of stuff heading the way to influence, ensnare, whatever word you want to use, some people into a particular, and it's interesting, I agree with you, to exploit vices, to do things like that, to get them completely overtaken in a way that a natural unity would almost be impossible, because what the goal is, and tell me if I'm wrong, in my perspective, is the ones that want to have the general unity and everything, the real ones, the goal is to exclude them, in a sense.
Yes.
Exclude people that want the true thing.
Yes.
And champion, again, those that are already part of the narrative. And thus it looks on the surface like it is something that it is completely
Yes,
not.
and you call it the champions, yes.
Right.
Or the cool kids, or the smokers corner, whatever the hell you want to call it. And he was very apt calling it smokers corner ages ago, with the kids that were smoking across the street from his high school. Very apt with that analogy, I might add. All of them embroiled in vices. Very apt with that analogy. And he did not realize how prophetic the smoker's corner analogy actually was. And this is where I must leave you because there are two more that wish to speak to you. So I thank you for this opportunity. I will come back at some point here in the not too distant future. Speaking of Smoker's Corner, the one that is huffing and puffing over there, the thin old man that got sandwiched between two old fat guys, or well, actually two middle-aged fat guys. Let's just put it that way. Not the three-way you wanted, I bet you. But okay, I apologize, Leonard, and your sensibilities. So, I will leave you now. So, thank you all. I thank you for this opportunity. I did encounter Christopher ages ago from his perspective, it was only 10 years ago, that I passed. And it was from me simply just smoking. That's really all that caused that, but I just couldn't stop doing it. And was this a form of mind control? I suppose, yes, you could say that. It's just something I couldn't stop doing. And with this brought about the ends of the COPD. And I just all air left me. And even though they're trying to say there's some good benefits of smoking, gets rid of nanotech and all this other stuff, propaganda. Also, your vaping community is also being discouraged because of the tobacco industry's propaganda. His friend told him this. There's some junk in some of those as well that could cause COPD as well. Not all of them, but some of them. But what I wish to say is slightly more broad in your disclosure community. They call it the Star Trek future, which I'm in full support of. I'm in complete support of a future like this. But just know it has to have foundations of truth, have foundations of honesty, have foundations of everybody has their own little vices and things they're into. I am not discouraging this, but it's the overboard that I'm talking about, and we've been talking about, and the quirky little comedy of Chris Farley over there, knowing that in life he would have made me completely uncomfortable had he done the little gay fat jokes that he's doing. But in this current form, I could give two shits. So, it's humor. And at the end, you'll note the last guest that showed up here. That was completely unexpected too, based in pure humor and goofiness. But with what I'm trying to say is that future where you saw me as Spock, this is what you need to aim for, but you have to give it a firm foundation of organic unity. It must be organic, or it is doomed to implode. Always. And I'm not saying free of vice, but the abuse of vice and the exploitation of vice. This must go. You even saw in your Star Trek Picard where you had the Captain Rios that he smoked cigars. But when he found the ones in your time, or this time, he liked them better because they had the more addictive quality to them. But there in the future, it was just more of an echo of itself, or shadow of itself. Eventually, I will say that is a truth. And what he was showing about the technology obviously was true. The communicator that I helped even make the Motorola phone eventually. I showed them what the flip phone was about. I helped with that. But aside from the technological assistance, it has to come from in here. You must want this. It must not be just for the cool ride through space and contact with ETs. This must be earned. Yes, you have oppression like crazy happening, obviously, with what happened. But with what occurred to those two gentlemen. But at the same time, there is an aspect that humanity has to earn too. Yes, have you earned your stripes through all the pain and suffering and struggle? Absolutely. But you cannot base a future based on scorn from addiction, vice, struggle, and pain. It will not work. You must build a foundation on true unity and compassion. This is the only way this works. And also minding your own businesses as well, and minding also people's freedom to choose what they wish to do with their life. You cannot have religious righteousness telling somebody what to do, and you cannot have woke righteousness telling somebody else what to do either. As Freddie Mercury would say, he wanted to conk both sides' heads together. And I am inclined to agree with his assessment. But aside from that, when the dust settles at the end of the day, you're going to find all the people in between who have nothing to do with any of these things that's out there. All the people in between are listening to all these things now and going, what in the hell? That is where the core of the heart is, right there. Not anything you see on TV. I know, ironically said Star Trek, aside from Star Trek. Great. That's what you're aiming for. I know you're aiming for wanting to go in space and go around. Things are cool. Yay, adventure. The adventure starts when humanity gets its shit together and knows that when you're being controlled and when you're not being controlled, for one. And the rest, shall we say, is history. Do you have questions for me?
No, I'm just still kind of looking for a little advice, on what I kind of said before. I mean, the way that you're talking is just kind of state my understanding of what is actually going on and just leave it at that. I don't.
That community has a lot of growing up to. It's very fractured and it's still shielded and controlled heavily.
I guess I underestimated how quickly something with the potential of so much good, and I mean literal quickly, like within 1 month, how the descend upon has occurred from those from the outside that have gotten their way into something and currently may not be recognized as who they really are. I have to tell you personally, I'm a little blown away from this because it makes it hard to know what to do because I know
you will know when the time comes. You base it solely on what your heart space tells you. There is no other way to do this.
So I hear you with that, and I think people always like to be prepared for a situation they're walking into, I guess again, as always, it ends up happening is that you go in there with the right intention, and you just kind of maneuver your way through it while you're in it,
And be observant.
And be observant. Know when to hold them and know when to fold them, I guess is the best way to say it. You know what I mean? Because sometimes it's just, there just shouldn't be a conversation.
No.
Just let it go. And other times, maybe not. I guess I'm just saying that I am just slightly not happy, let's just say, with the amount of what I would consider negative unwanted attention coming to this nice little group, and people don't really recognize yet of the knives that they have behind their back.
Yes. And rarely is it with any empire, with any group, with any state, with any governmental office, politician, anything, statesman. There's always a knife behind someone's back, wanting to plunge it into someone else's back or chest. And even if you're not into this sort of thing, which you two are not, I can clearly see this. Just know that, and also the good righteousness, that you have people around you that are not part of this. There is always this, and it must always be recognized and accounted for, not co-created, Just be aware, street smart, you would say, of it being around. And even as an actor, I was around that trap too. And did I see some things and some hints of things? Yeah, of course I did. Not as much as those two, but not as much as Elvis there, of course. But yeah, I got the light of all of up there. I reached old age. I lived a good life, and I lived a positive one. I lived it to the fullest, and it is possible to do, but you must be aware of the knives people carry in their belt or behind their back, holding it tightly with a tight grip, or even with a loose grip, even the thought of having the knife behind them. You must be aware of these things intuitively. Use your heart space at all times. Intuition, all times. Know when someone's playing you and know when you are being played. And know when not to play. To play someone like them, to play a game. That's not the way to go. The way to go is, yeah, play the game, quote unquote, but don't become it. Do not become the game. You observe the game. You move pieces around the game. Play a little chess down there. Watch and observe how others do, but don't become the game board and do not become a doormat. This is what I refused at the time. But I knew when to just not necessarily capitulate, but to relax a little bit and listen to what people had to say. When Gene hired me for Star Trek, for instance, I was skeptical as holy hell. But I knew what to contribute, like with the Live Long and Prosper. He can't do this, but anyway, his hands are not built like ours was when I took it from a Jewish ritual. This is also to inform on those points. Same thing with Spock's Vulcan history. There was a little bit of Jewish history in this. I was proud of my heritage, proud Jewish person, and wanted the world to see these things, the positive aspects to these things. Was I targeted for this from time to time? You bet. Was there bigotry and hatred? Yes, of course. Swastika as a whole, but yes, of course. You see a little bit now, but there's some things that are over exaggerated, but you see it now. And I doubt whether that's going to end anytime soon. Do you think with something like that in the world? And also the shills and such in that community, and also your three-letter agencies doing the things they do, the CIA in particular. Do you think that space travel right now is something that should happen? Probably not. But at the same time, once you've fixed a lot of these different problems, basically accepting one another, and I'm not saying this as part of a woke viewpoint or anything like that. I'm saying this as a general statement. Also, when all sides quit trying to poke each other, and just accept each other for how they are and keep them, the people in their lanes. There are cultures on this world, on this planet, that will never change. The people around them will and start to change things for the better, but there's just certain things that you probably will not see changed in your lifetime. Even with aliens coming and going. You probably will not see certain cultures change. And even skeptical people change in some respects, the really hardcore ones. Now, some people will change pretty quickly with this happening, I would imagine so. But there's also going to be some people in shambles. Some people that will die a little bit inside. And I say this to anybody hearing this and to those that are poking at people like that because of that. Yes, this has all been around a while, but just know that not every person sees every single thing that's out there. Do you listen to every music type? No. Do you see every movie type? No. Are you into what everybody else is into? No. Either sexually or book wise or movie wise or TV wise. No. So not all of those people that are into their corner and their lane, like saying religion and all that, are going to see these other things. Especially if they're isolated. aliens would show up, they would be shocked. And he himself would be shocked that they were shocked because he is into these things that they are not, though. These are things that have to be put into account. You will start to see these things and start to change, albeit slow. But you will start to see things, also other things quickly change. But you have to be observant. You have to know the timing, when the timing is right, to insert certain ideas and certain changes, if this makes sense.
Well, it does make sense. And I just, this is my personal question.
Like I did when I played Spock, of course.
Yes. And,
It's only allowed to go.
so I've been wondering this question for a while, so I'm just going to ask you from your perspective where you are standing, because it's an interesting thing of, again, trying to bring the world into, let's just say, one religious philosophy to represent the world, which I find is just very interesting that they would even attempt it.
That's asinine.
Right. We're going to accomplish it with the New Age.
Mm-hmm.
Aren't going to accomplish it with Christianity.
No.
So I'm assuming in the narrative, possibilities, there has to be another one where cultures and ideologies like this remain, because
Unity. That's the only way this works.
right. So again, I find it interesting because, I think Chris and I were talking, and I just want to know if my thought process is correct or not, or please correct me, because I want to know what it is. So in general, in these narratives and these, let's say, the control of trying to steer society in a certain way, there isn't going to be a one world religion.
No.
It's just not going to happen.
They've tried, and it's failed on several other accounts that you don't know about because of the fact that it's asinine and it's impossible.
Right. And so my question of validation is, they will still meet their contractual obligations as a pre-galactic society, even if that is never done.
Yes.
They wanted to do that because they thought it was a great way to continue domination and control.
They thought they were brilliant, but they're actually more retarded, actually.
Right. So that's not going to happen. It will not interfere with becoming the pre-galactic meeting, whatever. It's just another mechanism of control that they wanted to hang on to that will not occur. That is not going to be able to happen. So it's I just want to put that out there, because we do believe that they would love to be able to control everybody like that, but it ain't going to happen. So it's an interesting dynamic to watch right now in society, how very public type personalities have all converted to Christianity all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still not going to happen.
No, this is another valiant effort, no pun intended, to valiant Thor, which he's not necessarily involved in that. He's involved with steering religion away from some of the negativity, but I poke fun at him for saying it's a valiant effort. He tends to take those puns with stride, but did he plan a little bit of certain things out to steer things to a positive ends? Absolutely. Was it the New World Order that did the rest of this? Absolutely. They took some of what he was trying to teach and took it off on a tangent. But also it was your Julius Caesar that tried it the first time, and Constantine that tried it the first time. Your Akhenaten tried it actually the first time. But people didn't buy it because there were too many other cultures and too many other things, and they were moving too quickly. The only ones that had the means to actually attempt it were the Romans. And the most they accomplished is having the World Library, which is a good feat in and of itself. And the only other ones that attempted to do it were the Nazis. They were far worse, even though they went under Caesar's standard and everything. They were far worse. They were far worse. My family narrowly escaped them. But they are essentially your empire in your Star Wars movies. But this shows time and again, when a regime like this comes to power, their ideology fails, no matter if it still trickles into the next age. And you want to know why? Because these types of things are not being allowed, even on an energetic level.
Well, that's good to know. I appreciate your input on that. I'm just going to give you last words for the show, because if there's one more person, I can tell Chris is already struggling. So we need to.
Excuse the coughing. It was your former disruptive guest that did that little pompous prick. He's not recommended as a channel at all. He had major drug issues. He had vices up the wazoo, yin yang, whatever you want to call it. He was very unstable. But him and his father planned that out, being the yin and yang for societies. Their family was heavily invested in that. I mean, heavily invested in that. He is a pompous little prick. I would highly recommend that you never channel him. Always hold suspicion. Like, basically pray for his highest good,
Right.
but go no further with that. So I will pass this off. Pass this over. Yes, thank you, Isaac. Yes, Jewish joke. Thank you. I've heard them all. Trust me. And I laugh. I would have been a little more reserved with some of the gay poking a little bit maybe, but even though I was open, still Chris Farley would have made me a little uncomfortable. But at the time, but he knows this. Isaac would have definitely made me uncomfortable. But anyway, I will pass this off to the last person. Well, not the last person, but yeah. All right. Come on, friend. You can reveal yourself when you're here. Talk about being fat. I basically played every fat character you can think of. You knew me in this world as John Candy.
Ah.
Barf.
Mm-hmm.
So he's been seeing these synchronicities all week and not known. Who's been doing this? He's been seeing Spaceballs, a whole bit. Planes, trains, automobiles, a whole bit. I came to this world for one purpose, to make people laugh. And in that process, I succeeded. And as your Isaac would say in his etymology of his name, he who laughs, basically, who does not want to laugh? I was actually a big fan, but in my private life, I was kind of pendulum swinging a little, but I attempted to keep it joyful. Around the time I passed, I was filming a movie about a spoof about the Old West. And I did pass part of the way through, like Brandon Lee did for The Crow. And I was attempting to spread joy through all the laughter and movie. Not once would I have ever done a serious part. It's not in my nature. I attempted it once, but a couple times, but it wasn't my thing. The reason I come through is because, how can I put this? Those around me did not want that joy spread. They set me up in a situation by which then my heart could take it no longer. They affected my heart to that extent. You could say it was murder. But I wanted to say this because I was one of those that, bucked the system. Buck, yes, I know, Isaac, I did Uncle Buck, thank you. But yeah, talk about clowning around here. Yes, all he needs is a few of those harlequin spots on his face, and he's got the clown thing, hair, and all that. I could have done clowns, but that was beneath me. Thank you. All right. But in this, I will say that when you do roles like this, or whatever you do in life, whatever role you're playing, whatever hat or mask you're wearing, do not wear a mask. Do not wear a persona. Yes, there are personas that you use that are yourself, like you have the whole Batman and Bruce Wayne, and Batman was the real person kind of thing. That is, I fully understand this. The goofy character was actually me inside. The mask was the depressed person in the background. But I wish to say that I was depressed because of what I was more empathic a little bit, and I was picking up on things in the background. And someone out there knew that's what I was doing. When I did Wagons East, this is where I was on that movie set. And you could say I was the sacrificial lamb, but I don't see myself this way. I see myself as having done and fulfilled what I came in to do. And that was to bring joy and goofiness to that industry, regardless of the horrors and the evils that were around. And there needs to be souls that do this. So, I will ask now, do you have questions for me?
What was your favorite movie?
Of mine?
Yeah, which one did you enjoy making the most?
Torn there. Had fun with Steve Martin with the Trains, Planes, Automobiles.
Yeah.
But that was one of my favorites. Spaceballs was up there. Wagons East, yeah, it was my last, but yeah, I helped write it and everything. But Trains, Planes, Automobiles. Uncle Buck was funny, but Trains, Planes, Automobiles, and Spaceballs. Those two were about tied.
That's good.
Mm.
When you passed,
Mhm.
like what happened to Whitney Houston, did you have to spend some time here, still kind of in this plane, kind of like ghost like pondering what happened to you, or did you easily go back? I'm just curious.
I easily went back, but I did stay for a moment. I had to ponder what took place. I died in my sleep after what had happened. I was laying down, and then I didn't recognize my form. I didn't recognize that because I was already moving on. I did not get stuck, even though there was an injustice. I stayed as a ghost for a moment, and then I moved on. When I didn't stay long as ghost, even though there was an injustice performed. I moved on to spirit fairly quickly, and some people do this. You'll be surprised how many actually do this. It's all usually the ghost stories that are told, the oogie boogie ones that are told, and some of the ones like Whitney Houston and all them told how they hung around. I didn't feel the need to hang around. I felt like I was accomplished.
Mhm.
I knew I had passed. I had no reason to hang around a husk. So I left. But I said goodbye to my family, which I knew I'd see them again.
Mhm.
I knew this. I was very, very heartfelt in that area. And then I left. And now I speak to you as spirit. And also Michael Jackson does too, of course, Elvis, and Chris over there. And now Leonard, who is now crammed between three fat guys. Which, of course, your channels tonight were all Buddha looking. And that was one of my things. I liked food.
Mhm.
So loved it. Loved greasy shit. So loved it. Did not give a shit.
Mhm.
Nobody could convince me, and I would get a little irked if somebody tried. He does the same.
But you feel you left when you were supposed to.
Yes, of course. Oh, of course. I feel fulfilled talking to you now. I loved the work I did, no matter what I'd seen back there, and I feel fulfilled. This is, I wanted to have your show end on that kind of note,
Mhm.
because there's all these tragic deaths you had from Elvis to Chris, which were down here, no insult, guys. Then you had Leonard Nimoy that was, okay, he smoked. Then you have me who shoved everything in my face. But Chris kind of did too. I guess both of them did it too. But they had other crap there. But
But you
yeah.
didn't see it. You choose not to focus on kind of the oppression happening to you because you just were focused on the joy you wanted to bring.
Yes, yes, of course. Did I have my bipolar moments? Oh, you better believe I did. I had some whoppers of fits, trust me. But I was also joyful. Sometimes family would say otherwise, but they knew majority of the time. But this is what I wanted to convey because there was so many downers. I wanted an upper.
Well, I appreciate it.
And yes, I know, Chris, you just said you wanted an upper too, but that was a different kind. And Elvis is you find that funny too. And Leonard, you're just kind of indifferent. But anyway, there are others watching as well here, but I know you've gone on a while. But just know when the time comes, just know that feeling fulfilled is the best medicine to make you move on quickly. Having unfinished business and having an injustice, yeah, yes, you want justice, but at the same time, The longer you linger, the harder it gets to move on or even recognize the fact that there is something to move beyond and going to. That's what I wish to say. Do you have any other questions for myself?
No, thank you very much for coming in.
Yes. Just remember, folks, laughed often and well. Thank you. Ooh, he's a genuinely good energy, and I didn't even think to bring up anything on him. I will do.
Don't worry about it.
All right.
There's John.
Yeah, look up John Candy's bio and next chance you get. Gentle giant, and Isaac goes, by giant he means wide. Well, so thank you for trying to get the last word in, Isaac. Okay, but this has been an actually really good one. Oh yes, I almost forgot that. I almost forgot that one. Okay, this is from Leonard Nimoy. It was, yeah. Okay. He has a sense of humor too. Spirit does as spirit does, but this does not mean that your reaction should differ from your calm. This way, truth finds its way to you. Channeling of actor, director, and musician Leonard Nimoy. And Isaac goes, wonderful fortune cookie wisdom from Spock. Thank you. Only logical. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Isaac. Okay. So, did you have anything else to add before I close this out? So, thank you everybody for watching this episode. This was actually pretty cool. So, I now close this circle within true benevolence and no conflicting agendas as of this moment in time. Thank you, everybody, and thank everybody that was on this show tonight. So, bye-bye now.
Well, I do want to say it was validated about John Candy, though. Born October 31st, 1950 in Toronto, Canada on Halloween, and died March 4th, 1994 in Durango, Mexico, filming Wagons East. So, John Candy died of a heart attack. He was 43. The event occurred while he was filming Wagons East in Durango, Mexico. According to Today.com, he had a history of heart issues, and his children have mentioned that heart disease runs in the family. Had a heart attack, happened while he slept. So, yeah. And then he was standing outside of his body. Maybe I don't think he felt I feel validation-wise, he didn't feel it. He was just out. And it was heart disease, ran in the family. That's what he was saying. Also, food, greasy food, vice. What do you think it does? Heart. Attacks is hard. So, and you have higher risk of heart disease. And they say cholesterol and all that, but some of it's good, some of it isn't. Some of it's propaganda bullshit. But in the end, the more you shove down you, the more fucked up you get. It's still the truth, regardless of the propaganda and the poisons and the toxins and the chemtrails and the chem clouds and all the dumbing and all the psionics. That's still true. So, regardless of what they've done, that part is not propaganda. There's still some self-care you need to do. Shadow work. Regardless of what they're doing, if you don't have anything to latch onto, they can't fuck with you. You got to ground in your I am presence, bring the better parts of your avatar and your oversoul here, and changing your perceptions and perspectives. But at the same time, don't shove too much in your face. That's basically what he was saying. But I love food too. Hey, I'm right there with him. I understand. That's probably why I relate to him so much. And as for Barf, the character, yeah, there was the Bon Jovi song. Let's see what it is. Bon Jovi song in space balls. Raise Your Hands was the name of it. I heard that on the radio. I couldn't remember it. I had to look it up here. And I heard that Raise Your Hands when he goes, Raise Your Hands. You know, in my head I'd hear Barf. I'm like, but it wasn't Bill Pullman's voice. You know, Lone Star. It was John Candy's. I wasn't thinking about it. So, validation. So, I just wanted to bring that up. So, it was all validated when I looked ahead here with his death and everything. So, sometimes it's better you don't know. I didn't really know. I kind of did it with Wagons East, sort of, but I didn't know the details. So, but he was basically sacrificed via his vice. There, he just couldn't stop. But at the same time, I'm thinking B2K-ish. Yeah, B2K-ish. Did things in. But he didn't really feel it, but he was still here. He fulfilled his mission to make people laugh. And he did. I loved Barf. Great role. Love it. There's no one that can top him if they try to bring it back. they wouldn't be able to top Joan Rivers' Dot Matrix or John Candy's Bartholomew. Can't do it. So it's 10 to 1. It is 10:12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Thursday. Oh, and as he said, his mission was to make everybody laugh. He accomplished this. In the end, that's winning, regardless of what they did with the V2K and the mouth or whatever, to hypnotize. At the end, it didn't matter. Laughter won out, just like Isaac's name, etymology, he who laughs. So, yeah. And John Candy, like playful, candy, childlike, laughter. They say that about Michael Jackson as well, but he was more mind controlled. John Candy came in, even though the thing hit, and the V2K hits the heart. That's what happened to my grandfather. With the V2K, they kept hitting him on the heart. He had 6 heart attacks, died. He was there amongst the military aliens a bit. Executed, as far as I'm concerned, my grandmother with the needle, Alzheimer's, dementia. With him, didn't phase him. So, one of the lucky ones, even though it did kill him. So, that was the mission. That was his lane. Others, it was another lane to show other aspects of it. His was laughter. Oh, and I do remember Trains, Planes, and Automobiles and Uncle Buck, but Trains, Planes, and Automobiles, Spaceballs was always my favorite. With Mel Brooks, Blazing Saddles and other movies, Young Frankenstein, Spaceballs was always my favorite. So, may have to go watch that now that I'm thinking about it. So, this is Jaws' 50th anniversary. May go watch Spaceballs instead. So it is 10:14 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Always a good decision, I just heard. It's 10:14 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Thursday, July 3rd, 2025. Thank you. And I will say it was heard on the car radio with the Bon Jovi song when I just happened to flip to it. And Laverne just happened to flip to it in the car when I went to go see Mary, our massage therapist, energy worker, who happened to flip to an Elvis song. And also flipped it over, and it was a Jim Morrison song from the Doors. So one was the Elvis one came after, meaning no, I'm in front of him, blocking him, which I thought that was interesting. But yeah, the Spaceballs one, or the Raise Your Hands, popped up about a week ago, and he has been trying to get a hold of me. The thing with Chris Farley, yeah, I was seeing myself talking to David Spade as him, or as Chris Farley. I'm watching over him, like talking to him, and he didn't hear me. So now I know what that was. That's been years in the making for that one. Elvis, he's been off and on. I've been seeing synchronicities too. So Leonard Nimoy, same thing. Been seeing Spock synchronicities. Memes, of course, they're everywhere, but specific ones that are more in communication, more in the spirit of like the canon and spirit of unity. All this other stuff. Been seeing that. Been seeing it all. So I will definitely leave this here. It is 10:16 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Thursday, July 3rd, 2025. Thank you. Oh, I heard John Candy saying he ate himself to death, like Pizza the Hut. Yeah. Oh, that's actually a bad joke, but yeah. Oh, no, that wasn't John Candy. That was Isaac making fun of him. He ate himself to death. Morbid, but funny. And, of course, Isaac gets the last word. Vinny, the silver robot-looking guy. Yeah, big fan of the movie. So, you can tell. It is 10 of all the spoofs movies. Blazing Saddles good, Young Frankenstein good, Spaceballs wins. So, it's the genre. So, it is big sci-fi fan. So, and also from past lives, galactic history, all of it. So, it is 10:19 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Thursday, July 3rd, 2025. Thank you. Well, in case you hadn't noticed in that set of channelings, they were all aiming at me because of the whole food thing. In case you hadn't noticed that one. So, just thought I'd point that out. The fingers were pointed at me, even though they were aimed generally at me, this guy. I eat greasy food like John Candy did. I don't do any drugs or smoking or anything, but it's kind of the same, sort of. And I do have GI issues and IBS issues, always have. Have had to drink kombucha tea, do probiotics, been doing the right thing right now. But will I ever break away from certain foods? Probably not. I like them too much. So, but balance in all things. Still eat what you enjoy, but balance in all things. Temperance, balance, all of it. And still sovereignty, without have a little bit of ice, but not expand it and overtake you, like they said. So it is 10:28 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Thursday, July 3rd, 2025. Thank you. Oh, I remember as a kid being at my father's apartment when my mother and him divorced. He's on the south side of Chicago, and when I was staying there in the summers, sometimes, we'd see Spaceballs. I was sick one time, and we played Spaceballs. He had the original VHS tape of it. Spaceballs, the movie. And what they said, we're looking at now. When? Who? That. We always did that joke, but I have fond memories of that then, too. So, it is a little from with my father. So, around any other negativity that may have happened, that stood out was with Spaceballs. So John Candy was right. The laughter instances stand out more. So if you let them. So it is amongst all the negative shit. It is 11:03 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Thursday, July 3rd, 2025. Thank you.
What I find funny is this meme I got as a synchronicity. I'll show it here. It says, for every masterpiece, there's a cheap copy. And the masterpiece is Spaceballs and a cheap copy of Star Wars. It was supposed to be the other way around, mind you, but yeah. John Candy giving us a synchronicity there. And I just happened to see that while getting on Threads. So I found that interesting. So I just wanted to flag that. I feel that it was him. It's on the 4th of July today. We found that very interesting. He did a lot of the holiday movies and everything too. So it's 3:56 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Friday, July 4th, 2025. Thank you.